Hey there, welcome back to Manotick StringWorks. Glad to have you here. So please remember to like and subscribe for more video content. So we're going to continue with this Thinline Telecaster Part 2, and we're going to replace the pickguard with this new one. It's a little bit more of like a aged purloined look, but the screw holes don't line up exactly, unfortunately. And you'll see here they're just off. It's about a 16th of an inch, but they're not all just like straight off. Some are a little bit left, some are a little bit right. So I'm going to have to re-plug and re-drill all these holes. Not such a big job, but I wasn't expecting to have to do that. I really don't have much meat there to shave away up there, and I don't think it's going to help, so just get at it. So off camera, I drill the holes out to 1/8. Now I'm going to fill them with a 1/8 dowel, maple dowel, and just regular woodworking glue. I happen to have Gorilla Glue on hand, so that's what I'm using. I like to use woodworking glue instead of crazy glue or CA glue because it's easy to clean up. CA glue is a real mess. So just a little damp paper towel, clean up any of the excess. I'll go around and do all of them. I won't show you it all, but I'll do them all. So now I'll line up the pickguard. Pretty much the same position that the old pickguard was in. I can see some dirt lines, outlines on the body, and where it met up with the bridge. So I'll tape that down in several locations, make sure it doesn't move around. So once I have that in place, I'll use a self-centering Vicks bit, and we'll just go around the pickguard. Doesn't have to go very deep. This bit only sticks out maybe a 1/2 inch. And then I'll just put the screws in. This is a pack of new screws. Usually at least start them by hand. There's a lot of screws on this pickguard. So once they're all in place, I always seem to forget one. I think I got them all this time. Remove the plastic film. Alright, so now that it all fits, I hope you enjoyed that. I always take it off before I put the pickguard back on again. I hate pulling the little plastic bits out from under the screw. So here's some new parts I picked up. So the client wanted 1 meg pots. So I've got 2 1 meg pots here. One for the volume, one for the tone. These are humbuckers going into this guitar. And I picked up a nice 3-way switch from Oak Grigsby. I like these. They work really well. Just as good as the Fender ones. And then we'll start putting them onto the pickguard. So it's nice in this case that I can put the pots and the switch onto the pickguard and wire it off the guitar. At least start the wiring. Makes everything a little easier. Don't forget when you put the pots on to put that locking washer underneath. That'll keep the pot from spinning around and loosening up. And you'll see how to orient the pots, so you have the lugs facing each other. And tighten it up, but you know, it doesn't have to be crazy tight, but tighten up. Alright, so these are the Fender pickups that we'll put into this new pickguard. There's a neck and a bridge. Make sure you put the right one in the right spot. They are slightly different. These screws and springs can be a bit of a pain in the butt. So I find just putting a little bit of tape down in the screws, so upside down, put the pickup through the, line them up at least with the holes, and then you can start them with a screwdriver. If you've got an easier way, leave it in the comments below. This seems to work pretty well. So you just have to go around. There's 4 screws on each pickup. So that's the neck pickup done. Then I'll do the bridge one after. So there you go. Looks nice. I like the Fender logo on the pickups. It's cool. So while I've got these installed, I'll just clean them out with some contact cleaner. Just spray it in the openings. And the switch, you just sort of have to spray it onto the contact points. And then just twist around the pots, or use the switch a bunch of times. These are brand new, but you know, they might have been sitting somewhere in inventory for a while. Okay, so I've got a Seymour Duncan wiring diagram for a standard Telecaster, pretty straightforward. So just sort out which one's the bridge, which one's the neck. And these, excuse me, these humbuckers can be split. We're not doing that in this case. You can see the lugs that I'm going to use for the switch. And then we've got a new capacitor, an orange drop capacitor. I think it's a 22.0022 UF value. Alright, we'll tin the soldering iron. And we'll pre-tin the leads, the lugs, and we'll get at it. So soldered everything up as far as I can right now. Looks good, nice and neat, easy to see on the bench like that. So just have the output and the grounds to put on, but we'll do that once we get this on the guitar. So I'm going to remove the output jack. That's a 7/16 socket. I'll show you why. I'm not just going to reuse the wiring that's there. Yeah, so the output wire, the gray one, it's one of those 2-in-1 wires, and I really don't like those. I much prefer having an output and a ground as separate. So I'm going to change that. And the bridge was wired to the output as well, the ground wire. So there you go. So green for the hot in this case, the output, and black for the ground. Alright, so now it's basically just putting all these ground connections back and the one output connection. So the grounds go to the top of the pots and the output goes to the middle of the volume, the middle lug on the volume pot. There we go, all done. So now we just have to get this back on and get all the wires where they go. There's a lot of wires in this one, and they're pretty big. on the pickups. So I was able to stuff them under there. If you remember on the first part, there was a big bulge where the wires were sticking out, so we fixed that. So let's use the driver and go around. I've got on a low torque setting. We don't strip out any heads. This is nice and quick. It's looking better already. So these are the knobs we'll reuse. Nice brass, chrome-plated brass knobs. So inside there's a sleeve, a little brass sleeve. And that's there if you're using one of these knurled pots, split shafts. So when you tighten up the knob, it'll squish up against that brass sleeve and hold it in place. Otherwise you'll just smush the split shaft. So I take those out because we have solid shaft pots. And they sit on there nicely. So sit them on the shaft, just proud of the pickguard, and tighten up the set screw, the handy little electric driver I've got there, little precision driver. And then we'll just put the switch knob on the three-way switch. Perfect. That looks good. Looks like a telly. So I just wanted to show you that I did have to replace actually one of the pots after I did all the wiring. It was faulty. So I did that. And just to show you the output levels, so you attach the hot to the tip of the output jack and the ground to the shaft of the output jack. Put your ohms meter on ohms. So we have about 7.86 for the neck, combined 4.05, and 8.36 for the bridge on its own. That's pretty normal. Alright, well stay tuned for part 3 coming up in a couple of days. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.